There's a huge discrepancy between where we put a border for acceptable behavior and where society puts that border. We think that these two match all the time, when in fact, most of us live miles away from that actual border. We don't realize how much more freedom we can give ourselves because we don't understand how to get over ourselves and our own judgment. We think that what's really stopping us, it's the judgment of others. When in fact, that judgment of others doesn't really exist. It doesn't exist because you've never given yourself the freedom to see if it really exists. How can you say that that border really is there if you never tried to cross it? I'm not saying to break the law. I'm not saying to break any ethical or moral code. I'm just trying to tell you that most of the freedoms that you see out there in the world that other people can do and they take for themselves, most of them are free. That's why they are called freedoms. So give yourself the freedom to really understand where society puts that line. Because otherwise you will live lives of quiet desperation, just zombie automatons. You will be on autopilot all the time. You will not really know how to enjoy life because you've never tested what is the limit. You've never attained true autonomy, true agency, and freedom over your own behaviors. You have installed this program, this limiter to your own behavior, and you refuse to test it out to see if it holds a little bit further away. Sure, it might come with a little bit of reprimand sometimes, but sometimes you realize that those consequences are worth paying for the price. It is worth paying for the things that you receive. You do a cost-benefit analysis and you realize that this benefit that I have is tremendously better than the consequence, which is just a little bit of a stare here and there. But certain people just smile. They say hi. They wave at the camera. They do things that are positive. So you see, not everyone reprimands you for your behavior. Some of them just start conversations with you. All of the sudden, when you are loud and you talk about things that are very interesting to you, and you give yourself the freedom to speak loudly and emotionally, people really interact with you because they go like, wow, that's an interesting person. Some of them will frown, but most of them will never do anything. The vast majority of people, the people that you put into your mind that will judge you, most of the time they will not do anything, not even think of you. They're so closed down. They're thinking of themselves and their behaviors so much they will never ever do or think about you in any single way. So give yourself more freedom so that you can enjoy life more. Because life on the other side of that mental barrier is so great. But you see, society never teaches us how we can dismantle those judgments. We think that just this information that I've told you is enough to dismantle that judgment. But it is not. You have to give yourself proof of the thing that you are trying to convince your brain of. That's the only way that you can dismantle that judgment, that program that runs you. You can dismantle it by only giving yourself proof of the contrary or of the same. It doesn't matter because sometimes your brain, you will get reprimanded. Someone will tell you something and you will go like, I didn't die. Okay, this is good enough proof for me to do that behavior in the future because really nothing happens. That someone says something. Okay, people say a lot of things. But the point is that most of the time, that doesn't even happen. You are just a slice in people's lives. You are not really there. You don't disturb them that much. Right now, you are not even there. You understand this? You're just like a tree on the street. Most people just walk on by without even noticing anything. I'm not saying that they should notice you. What I'm saying is that be a moving object, do something to test how far that line is in your own way. Because if you don't test it, if you don't give yourself proof of where the line is, you will never go beyond your judgments. That's why it's so hard to change our circumstances. That's why it's so hard to change our life, our behavior. We are ingrained in this program of our own judgments, our own fears and anxieties, our own imagination of what people really think of us. When in fact, the reality is that almost nobody thinks of us. The core of the issue is this cage that we've built around ourselves with these judgments that we have, these personal ideas of behavior, of acceptable actions. And we've built this prison around ourselves, and we think that that's what the world deems as acceptable behavior. It's this personal judgment, and we think it's a predictor. We give it an action, it gives us an outcome, it gives us a consequence. When in fact, we don't actually know those limits. We only think they are there. But until we test it out, we don't know if it's a wall, if it's no wall, if it's a door, if it's a window. We are blind, and we do not understand how to walk yet. We do not understand how to form proper ideas. We think that we can change our ideas through other ideas, through knowledge, through understanding. When in fact, you cannot change your life and your ideas and your behaviors, especially the ones that really run you, especially the ones that have more control over you than you have over them. Those things are only changed through overwhelming your mind and your emotions with undeniable proof and data, so that now it has to do all of that processing to change itself. Because faced with insurmountable amount of new data, it has no choice but to change the cage, to expand it, to include new, better behaviors. So give yourself the freedom to live a better life, to change the prison that you found yourself in. Because to a certain extent, we raise ourselves up into that cage. But to another extent, the society and the world and family and biology puts all of that onto us because that's all they know. But the world has changed so fast, and yet our minds, our behaviors are still the same. We act as if, instead of trying to see why we act that way, trying to really see where the border is for acceptable behavior. And at the same point, if you want to perpetuate the same behaviors and just do whatever you see that's already validated, you always have that choice. Can always revert back to doing the normal things, to doing the behaviors that keep your life the same way.